Will come to order. The city clerk will call the roll.
Aiello, Itar, Carcone, Irvin, Beatrice, Williamson, Glassamo Testa, Lemetico, Druzzi, present.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for deceased members of the Common Council. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment period is on budget amendments only. Is there anyone from the police that wants to be a representative to come up for 3 minutes?
Mr. President, I'd like to waive the rules of order to allow public commenting period during this time.
Need a second?
Second.
Any opposed? Rules are waived. Is there anyone? Yes. Yes.
You already have a seat?
No, you can go right up to
To the mic, Josh. Yeah.
Josh, just please state your name.
I'm Officer Joshua Harrington with the Utica Police Department and President of the Police Union.
Go ahead.
Okay. We saw some of the amendments and just had a few questions about the numbers that are on those amendments. The holiday pay, we were wondering what this is directly to you, Katie, because
The holiday one came from Councilman Vitor, but I can chime in if you want with that as
Okay.
well. But either way, if we want to tag on that.
Josh, during public comment period is you give your speech. It's not a question and answer.
Oh, I can't ask any questions?
If
Can we
you
get an
wanna-
explanation after?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't debating, I was just asking a question.
No.
I can't ask questions?
You can ask a theoretical question, but they're not going to be responding.
Okay, all right.
I will be listening, though,
Okay.
to give answers later.
On the amendments, there is a reduction in our holiday pay and a reduction in overtime and other things. I was just looking for an explanation on how that's possible if our wages are going up from year to year. We're due for a raise in April, a contractual raise. Holiday pay is a contractual benefit as well. And it doesn't make sense to me that the raise or there is a reduction in those items or those lines when we have raises coming. It makes sense that there'd be an increase in the budget. So I just wanted an explanation of that, if I can get that at some point. And for the council, I'm hoping it doesn't come to the point where we are seeing cuts that affects the city in general. And I know that hasn't been talked about at all, or that's not even on the table, I guess. But with cuts of police officers, we've seen it before, crime goes up, and then we end up raising our complement. We had that in 2012. We had a reduction in police officers. We have less people that are on the street, less people to fight crime, less people in each zone. And then we end up getting grants and raising that and have to fight crime, and we're way behind the 8 ball, and just to try to catch up and reduce the crime because of cuts. So I hope that's not even on the table at all for anyone. I guess I'm just looking for an explanation. We're here to
Josh,
hear.
sorry about
What?
that. When you're done, I'm going to go around to each council member and give them an opportunity to respond to any of your questions. So you'll hear their response.
And Judge, you can also stay for the committee meeting once the special meeting's done and sit at the round table so that we can get an explanation. Because this is the first time that we've got these amendments as well.
Okay.
Out on the first time. So
Okay.
I'd like to see an explanation.
All right. I guess that's all. We're just looking for an explanation on those things, and we're concerned that without the tax cap increase, or that you're putting a tax cap on, without the increase, that the police and the fire budget lines are the largest, and we're always the first ones to be cut if there isn't a tax increase. And I'm sure every council has ways to cut cost. But we're hoping that we are not the top of the line, or DPW, who is already barely making it through night to night because their staffing is so low, that you look to increase the tax enough to keep the complements that we have.
Thank you, Josh. Anyone else from the audience? So public comment period is closed. I'll start with Council Member Katie Ayala, First Ward.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is this basic remonstrances or just in response to this?
No, whatever you want to say.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for everybody who showed up tonight. We have a lot to go through with these amendments that we're introducing tonight. Thank you for speaking on your thoughts with it. And we're looking to see, a big part of what we did is we presented a letter to the mayor, because while there's all of these options, it doesn't mean they all should be done. In fact, they shouldn't all be done. It's which ones does the mayor want to prioritize, and that's what we're really interested in pursuing and starting from there. So that's those amendments specifically I didn't propose, but I was looking at percentages wise. I think that's what I won't speak to all of it for the rationale as to why, but just looking to hear more from the mayor this week, and everybody else keep coming out to these special meetings and engaging with your thoughts and concerns on this. It's going to be a team effort, so thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. I did speak with the mayor and with the council. You guys have to have a majority to approve these amendments first. Then that's when he's able to look at the amendments to agree or disagree. So it's the council's job to approve the amendments that you want, and then it's the mayor's job to look at it to make the final decision. That's the conversation I had with the mayor. The Second Ward, Council Member Bob Burmaster.
I'm good, but I want to thank everybody for coming.
Third Ward, Council Member Joe Bitar.
Yes, thank you. I'll address the question directly. I can't speak to the overtime question. That wasn't mine. Perhaps Council Members Carcone, Beatrice, Williamson, and Clausen Testa could address that after on the overtime. But with the holiday pay, so when I look at the fiscal year 23-24 holiday pay lines, for example, 492,000, 446,000, and then year to date, as of March 6th, it's 444,000, and just basing that off math to get to 500,000, the amendment was up to 577,000. So 500,000 estimated year to date up to 577,000 would actually be an increase of 15% to that line year over year. Any follow-up questions on that? I could certainly.
No, well, I guess I just, with the pay increase, I don't see how the holiday check could go down, because it's a set amount. Right?
No, yeah, and when I spoke with a member of your department regarding this, I was told that it's a calculation by the comptroller's office as well. So I think we need to get the exact percentage of what that would be, because looking at it now, 500,000 to the recommended 577,000 is a 15% actual increase from year over year. So it's not a cut really. It's just a 15% increase compared to, I think, and I don't have the percent increase on what was originally recommended, but that would be my explanation. Just a 15% increase on that holiday pay line.
Fourth Ward, Council Member Frank Carcone.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that all these amendments that they brought in came in so late. I don't know why they waited so long to do them. I mean, we had a bunch of amendments done a couple of weeks ago. Now this is the first we're seeing these, so how can we comment on them yet? I didn't read through these. They just were put on my desk 2 minutes ago. So I don't know why they waited so long. They must have their reasons. I hope it's a good reason, because they should have been done sooner.
Thank you, Council Member. Fifth Ward, Council Member Van Serven.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for speaking.
Yes, sir.
I think the council's always been supportive of the police department. And I think we all came here tonight to vote on the amendments. But that doesn't mean we're gonna pass them. And if we do pass them, like it was stated, the mayor will make a decision on them and then we'll make a decision on them. And whatever happens is gonna happen. But I appreciate you coming tonight. When I do, I appreciate everybody that's here tonight. And I hope you understand what we're doing. Thank you.
6th Ward Council Member Joe Beatrice.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you guys all for coming. Appreciate everything you do out there every day. The only thing that I'm going to talk about, and I'll wait till Deputy Chief Noonan gets here because I had extensive talks with him on 2 buckets that we repeatedly go over and over. One of them is the police special services line and the police uniform division line with there's talk of 165, but they say there's money in there for 169. And I want him to explain that for the 5th time because we've been over that and over it and over it. And that's my main concern. As far as these other lines, same thing. I talked extensively with him last night. My biggest concern on this is I was told that nobody was, now you're the union president, were you ever consulted on any of these lines? Did anybody talk to you?
No.
Okay, and I was also talked to Deputy Chief Noonan. He wasn't contacted by anybody before these lines were put in here, and Chief Williams wasn't. So, you know, I mean, if there's stuff to be cut in here and we could do that, I want to hear it from the people who are in the trenches doing the work every day. So I will defer my questions to either the meeting, the second meeting, or if Ed gets here before the end of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Council at Large, Mark Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one question, Mr. Harrington, or Sergeant Harrington, right?
No, just officer.
Officer Harrington. We're losing 5 sergeants this year, right? And up to 18 police officers next year.
Within the next couple of years, there's up to 60 officers that could retire within 4 years. 60 total. That's of rank and the rank of officer.
So if they all retire next year, not I'm not going to say all 60 will retire, but just say 12, 15, and you guys got to do overtime. Who's going to cover them? That they retired. It's going to be the other officers, correct?
That's correct.
So that's why this overtime needs to be in there, because you guys are forecasting people retiring. And you have to. You have to forecast that, because who's going to cover these people on the night shift, day shift, 4 to 12 shift? And just like the fire department, the same thing. They're going to be losing people to retirement as well. And the police academy's in June, right? As well as the fire department, I believe.
Well, the issue is that we don't have as many people taking the test, and I know everyone has heard that before. Recruitment is extremely difficult. So if you have 100 people take the test, maybe you have a pool of 12 that you can do interviews. And out of those 12, they maybe 5 have a good interview. To replace the amount of people that will be coming up on retirement is going to be just about impossible, which is essentially going to raise the budget line for overtime by quite a bit, because the officers that still remain at the department are going to have to work. Someone has to take the calls.
Exactly. And that's all I have to say, Mr. President. Thank you.
Council Member at Large, Samantha Carlissimo Testa.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've sat and I've talked to, here as he walks in the door, Deputy Chief Noonan and Officer Harrington on a number of the amendments in regards to the police department, whether it was the police uniform division salaries, police uniform Social Security, police and criminal investigation salaries, Social Security, holiday pay, night differential. And there's a lot of things that don't make sense. We've gone through these budget lines a number of times, even though they're not introduced yet. I think that it needs to be explained how you get $240,000 out of the police uniform division for salaries when you have grades and steps that have to be paid on top of a pay raise. So that doesn't make sense. But again, we've gone through this. This is now our second year with a number of these amendments that don't make sense. So I hope that we're going to be here tonight at getting these explanations, because I've been at a loss of words since I've got this email yesterday on where they're getting some of these numbers from. So that's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember at Large, Jack Lemenical.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nobody here doesn't really care what goes on in this city. But we have to look at two sides to everything. We got to look at, how much the people of the city could afford. 30% of them are below the poverty level. We have an aging population. And we also have to take care of the people that work for the cities too. So we have two very, very important things when we decide this. And we're not going to make everybody happy, but we're going to protect everybody. We're going to protect you guys, and we're going to protect the citizens of this city. And that's what we're getting down to. And hopefully by the end of the day, some people might not like it, and some people will. But we're going to do our very, very best to keep this city running, keep this city safe, and to keep our citizens happy as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Mr.
I will
President-
say this.
Mr. President?
Hang on for a second, Councilmember. I do think, council members, when you have your constituents and they're concerned about the 9.75% tax increase, I think you have to really ask them how much their house is assessed for and how much money your taxes are going to go up each month, okay? Instead of just looking at like a 10% and say, my gosh, my taxes are going to go up a lot. I don't think it really is. So I think, so when they call, figure out what their house is approximately assessed for, and then you can do an estimate, $13, $15 extra a month. It's the cost of living. Everything does go up. So if you want services, okay, groceries go up, car insurance goes up, insurance, everything. So just a recommendation. Councilmember Beatrice?
Yes. Deputy Chief Noonan, could you explain our conversation last night about the police special services line? So it's in the budget for 600. They want to raise, they're saying it's a revenue line, and they want to raise it to 851, and it's 251,000 increase. The way I understood this, the way you guys have been explaining it the last couple of years.
Councilmember, should this be committee meeting information? So anybody in the audience that wants to stay, we have.
Well,
a
I
committee
think
meeting instead
it's
of just
very
going around.
relevant to the people that are in the audience. So
And if
that's why I want.
If it's important, they'll stay for the committee
Oh,
meeting.
So I can't ask him this now?
You can ask it.
I'll want to speak and rebuttal whatever he says and expand on that, so just budget.
No, I'm asking Eddie to explain it to us, how that line works for the 5th time. Okay? And then I have one more for you afterward.
Go ahead, Chief.
Am I allowed to speak?
Oh, yes.
So special services, it's also known as contracted services. Those are when our police officers work in the schools, at the auditorium, Munson Williams, Wynn Hospital. There's other various events throughout the year. The entities contract with the police department to have a police officer or police officers at whatever venue it might be. Those officers are not working, they're not on duty, they're off schedule, they come to work and they work the event. The entity compensates the city for the officers being there at a rate that was determined by an actuary to account for overtime salary, pension costs, fringe, equipment. That number, in all actuality, should amount to about whatever revenue is taken in is paid out. It's probably plus or minus 5%, because nothing is perfect, but it's not a revenue stream, so to speak. It should be a net zero at the end of the day.
Okay, I'll save my next question, Deputy Chief, to the committee meeting regarding the so-called, where are we here, the police complement, where they want to say that there's, I looked in the budget and didn't see 169 people. I see 165, but they're coming up with a number, and we'll talk. I mean, I believe the president wants to save that for the committee meeting, so we will talk about that then, if you don't want me to speak now. Okay? Thank you.
As long as we're on the, thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, Councilman.
As long as we're on the topic of police services, I totally understand. Revenue does not mean the word profit. What we're seeing, though, is that expenses are being accounted for appropriately. We're not really going over on that overtime of what was allowed. But what's not being accounted for is what does come in from the special services line. You know, year to date, there's $482,000 on that account of what's come in. And that's missing months upon months of the school services. This is great. This means we're going to be well over $1 million of what's coming in with that line. It's great because it helps us cover the expenses of what it takes, but we're tracking the expenses and we're not tracking the revenue. And that's what's really frustrating, because maybe if this year, if we tracked the revenue appropriately, it wouldn't have been such a battle to try to keep the ARPA sunsets. There's things that this could have been used for and should have, even for the police department, and that's not what's happening. I'm just asking to, and this isn't at UW Chief, you know, I understand that part, but whatever the numbers are, if whatever the expenses are, I want them on the lines. Whatever the number of revenue that's coming in, not necessarily profit, it's just what the term is for accounting, I want that tracked. This needs to be transparent so we can know and budget appropriately for everything. So that's what this reflects more than anything for my amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Vitar.
Thank you. Yeah, just briefly in response to a couple comments made by other council members to clarify a couple of points. On Monday, I had a list of roughly 24 proposed amendments. Before I submitted those to the rest of the council, spoke with Deputy Chief Noonan, spoke with Chief Ingersoll, spoke with our our Parks Commissioner Dave Short. It doesn't mean they agreed with the amendments, but I did touch base with them prior to submitting the nearly 24 amendments that were submitted it to the council on Monday for review, and then finalized them on Tuesday to the clerk's office. And those are I think 1 through 23 is what they were marked as. I did just want to clarify that for purposes there. That's all I have, Mr. President, on that point, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Anyone else?
The only thing that I had before we vote on everything tonight is there was a list that we received that was released to the public yesterday in regards to options for reducing expenses. There's a couple that overlay one another. So before we introduce, I'd rather keep the ones that are in committee there and not duplicate them for the purposes of not having two of the same amendments inside there when ones were already proposed. The other one is that I have is that there's non-union raise freezes for 6 months, and it says many lines for $78,000 of a reduction, and it's not in the packet.
No, it's not. We're working on what that would look like.
So if we didn't,
would you like that as a block or separate? That was actually one of the
no,
questions.
you have to separate them because they're ordinances. But I guess the reason that I asked that is because, again, we've got 5 days before our actual budget, and we still don't have amendments that are being proposed.
And we have a special meeting on Friday.
Even though it was released to the public. Again, so now we have to explain something that isn't even in our physical presence right now for amendments. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Why even release it if you don't have nothing prepared?
I'm sorry. It sounds like you were going to vote for it.
No,
I
it is.
apologize.
It's very
Okay.
frustrating. So that's it. So that's not going to be in the packet tonight,
No.
even though it was released to the public. Okay.
Well, at this point, then, I'd like to make a motion to commit 1 through 23, just to get them into committee for further discussion.
I would like 1 through.
So your ordinances are amended separately.
1 through 33.
It's one.
30.
So then you already have
1 through 34. I would rather just commit everything and then.
You already have amendments inside committee that are already numbered from 14 through.
You gotta read.
So you got to renumber them. And don't duplicate ones that are already there.
You don't have to renumber.
They're listed by date.
And we could just go commit 1 through 34.
Next meeting, they'll come through.
Even though, different dates, I'd rather hit 1A, 1B, 1C, so we're not confused, just because names are different now.
So we need to place 1 through 34 in committee. Can we do it as a block?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, second. Any objections? Commit? Committed. So, our special meeting, motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Adjourn.
5-minute recess?
Yeah. Back here.
Yeah, it looks good.
meeting to an order. Can I get a first and second? Wait on a second.
Second.
We're started. Okay, we're gonna go right along. We'll work our way around on these budget amendments. And Katie, we'll start with you, and you can start discussing them, bring them up.
Actually, we're starting with, if we want to start with one, that'd be Councilman Bitar.
Say again, Katie, I can't hear you.
If you want to start with number 1, ordinance 1, that would be Councilman Bitar's amendment. Do you want to go in order?
All right, we'll do that. Joe, go ahead.
We're getting new packets with new numbers. Updating numbers.
All right, we're just waiting on some last minute adjustments here.
We
You got
want
it,
to start
Joe.
with yours, if you want to start with number 1 and going through.
I have the original amendments from March 3rd that were previously submitted. If we could start with those.
Go ahead.
So then it would be the Republicans.
Yeah, these ones aren't mine.
So we'll go with yours first. You got a problem with it?
I'd rather start in chronological order, just like we would with a regular legislation. If something's submitted prior, we go through the list that way.
You wanna start on 14?
It's renumbered to 2, but yeah, it's,
All right, so we have some new ones now.
so we're starting with 2
Okay,
for March 3rd.
number 2, budget number 2 amendment, be it ordained that the annual estimate is hereby as followed. This is by Councilman Carcone, Beatrice, Williamson, and Colosimo Testa. Would somebody like to speak on it?
Sure, so we had spent $60,000 on our financial audit statement with the same company for the last 3 years, last several years. And I'm hoping to stay within that number, so I took that extra $15,000 out to hope to stay when the RFP goes out, that we stay within that number. That's number 2. That's the new one he just handed you.
Did you get it? Any questions on that? All right, we'll move on to the next one.
Number 3 is the Law Department Contracted Services. The city is still going out to a number of outside agencies to handle cases. We have been staffed at the same number of members in the Law Department. I feel that taking it from $225,000, bringing it down to $125,000 would be sufficient with the law department that we have on staff and any outside services.
Are we allowed to speak on these? Or should
Any
we-
comment on that?
This is one of the ones that I was the most hesitant to do. I've just being on E&A, I've seen how much we've been putting out with contracted services, and they've done a lot of good work with making a lot of negotiations that we really needed that does save the money for the city in the long run. But I don't know if Corporation Council, if you wanted to weigh in, if this is something you can cut, then I will keep my mouth shut.
On the contracted services?
Yeah.
I think when Bill was here, I mean, he talked about this. I mean, we made it clear that we have a number of outside counsel that we needed to exercise for a number of different things. And we've gone over that, and we likely will continue. So again, it's just things that our office doesn't handle. We have a number of.
It's also for witnesses and stuff like that too.
Yeah, so, and I know this year, and I don't have the numbers, I obviously didn't prepare the budget, but I know, we're pretty close, if not over that already this year. And I think we anticipate that next year it would be the same. We have a lot of pending cases. And again, we use those quite frequently for experts that we need on cases. And
I believe Romer is going to be hired next year.
that is correct.
What is that for?
So,
Policing contracts.
for our police, fire, and, yeah.
And that's
contracts.
another reason that I took down this line is because we did hire a public safety commissioner, and that was supposed to be in part to negotiations for police and fire, to supplement that 60,000 on top of what we're already doing, 65,000. I thought that he could handle that. So going to an outside agency when we now have a public safety commissioner, I felt that that was necessary to take down that line. And he's a lawyer. Yep.
Yeah, but not in that function.
Anything else on, anybody else have anything to say on that? Joe? Okay. All right, move on to the next one, number 4.
The other one is taking additional money out of our interfund transfer. I think that when we get, hopefully if we get the same increased amount of CHIPS funding, that could supplement our paving program. The amount of money that we received in CHIPS last year was to the tune of, I think, through CDBG was, and I could be mixing those two up between CHIPS, but I thought there was an extra $730,000 allocated towards that. If we received that same amount, I figure replace that with the CIT that we utilize for our paving program, and then supplement that to supplement the tax decrease to lower the levy of what's proposed for that. So that's what the interfund transfer is for that.
What number is that? Number 4.
Questions?
So, I'm sorry, Jack, I just don't want to interrupt. The table does not have an up-to-date with the new numbers, so we have a packet that has, some of them are not numbered. So if you can clarify what you're referring to, it may help us, but we're looking through a packet that does not
Oh,
have.
yeah, this is
Controller
600.
salaries for,
This is interfund transfers, interfund CIT 750 to 1.4 million,
Are we
with
gonna
a
get
change
them
of
a new package?
$650,000.
Hang on, let me.
We adjourned our meeting and our clerk's office left, so everybody's gonna have to go through what they have.
I'm gonna make you guys a
I'm
copy.
not saying we need, I'm just saying, just clarify what
Yeah.
you're referring to. It's the numbers
So we
don't
had to
necessarily
renumber
coordinate.
them because we put them in as a block from 1 through 34. So that
is
was
the
what I was trying to
CDBG
say
money?
before. I mean, and now we're trying to figure out where we are when they should have just been numbered 1A, 1B, 1C, and kind of figured that out. So now you're on a new packet, which is interfund transfer, A415503116, interfund 750 to 1.4 million.
I think Katie's gonna make you a package real quick here. We'll give her a minute.
sharing it.
Because they're all mixed up, because we added new numbers to old numbers, and this was exactly what was gonna happen. You try to be organized in your old packets, new packets. The same numbers, this is what happened. Documentation, this is what it is.
All you did was weaken the country. All this extra paper in the budget. Ink.
It does, like this is one of the least technological legislative bodies. This is the transfer fund. It's like we should just all have tablets and just.
Only the county.
Yeah, as I got it. Just give us a tab.
There's many more, but I'm just starting with these ones.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one.
That's the next one. We didn't discuss
I need a
that.
comment.
You'd like to give a comment?
Yeah, you can exceed.
On which one?
The
On
one
number,
that-
on number 4?
The CI, I don't have.
Yeah,
the
number
numbers here.
4.
Okay.
The CIT fund,
Yeah, sorry about my.
I don't have the exact number, but I don't think you can exceed 1.2 million, because you can only go up to 50% of the entire fund. The 1.4 will exceed that.
Sure, and that's by charter?
Yes.
So we could waive the charter if we needed. That would just be another amendment. I appreciate that, Elmer, thank you.
All right, next one, number 5, for administration.
Fire administration would be repairs, to look at budget cuts, to try and get that tax levy down. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to make some cuts to some things that we might not want to. And I thought it was fair to take from repair lines. We've gotten some new fire trucks over the past couple of years. And I just felt it was necessary that we needed to reduce the tax levy, and the repairs line for the fire administration was one of those accounts to take out of.
Any comment? All right, we're gonna move on. Scott, you got any? Go ahead.
It's 25,000, right, out of, okay, so that's the station repair line, okay.
The next one is
Next one.
judgments and settlements. We continue to discuss the amount of amendments that, or excuse me, the amount of settlements that we have as a municipality. This line has varied throughout a number of years, and as I'm told that we settled a number of contracts and settlements, or excuse me, a number of lawsuits in the last year. This is another one that if we keep knocking those lawsuits down, this is another line that should go down along with that. So I took 75,000 out to leave 200,000 in it. This is a line that has been reduced in the past, and if the city feels that they have a settlement that's in excess of it, that's something that they could possibly look to bond for, to pay for a settlement, as we've done in the past. Thank you.
Any comments? All right, we're gonna move on. Number 9.
This is police support division for repairs, kind of echoing the same sentiment to the fire department. The city's done the city has done a number of repairs through ARPA funding, through the budget amendments in previous years, taking 25,000 out and trying to keep that within the range of where we could to 150. As a budget amendment, I felt that was necessary to reduce. Thank you.
Comments?
Sure, understood. Just take note that this line is for vehicle repairs. Obviously, with everything else, the cost of parts and repairs to the vehicles gone up. We'll do our best to keep that up.
Thank you.
And the only thing that I'll say, to that, well, the only thing is I'll say to that is that before we were on a replacement program with our vehicles that we got away from. That's something that I would hope that the city would get back to, so that we're on that lease payment program, so that the vehicles are being turned over at a rate that's necessary, rather than budgeting for them in the actual budget. So that's something that I'm hoping that the city gets back to too. Thank you.
All right, the next one.
And
Number
if I
10.
can add on that, this is still, it used to be budgeted for 125,000, so I think that's where they were hoping to get that sweet spot of 150 instead of 175 this year. Well, it was
Again,
up to
one
175.
reason I say this is because can't explain, from what I'm told, how much
From mine.
the cost of parts has gone up. Just, it's really very significant. So that's all. That's the
Thank
reason
you.
why we chose to go even higher, just because it's like that.
Yep,
All right,
good conduct.
next one's number 10.
I'll do 10, 11, and 12 as a block. Part of what's in the charter is that the council, the comptroller's office and the mayor's office receive increases for COLAs. These exceeded the COLAs, so what I did was bring them down to what was in the charter. Well, laws there too. Laws exceeded it to the tune of $75,000. I understand that everybody in that office is working hard. Everybody is able to run their own private practice, and exceeding that amount was something that I didn't see was necessary. As each department has gone down, the law department has grown, and if everybody's going to feel the burden of the budget, I'd like to share the wealth with everybody evenly across the board. So that's why I took the $75,000 out of increases in pay to law, the mayor, the comptroller, and the common council. I also put in a component to the charter that takes away to waive the charter for this year, and that's in another resolution for that. That should be in the packet. That was submitted on the budget amendments. They might have not have printed that. That actually might still be in committee. And I don't think he printed that. I think he just printed the actual budget amendments, but we introduced it at the last council meeting.
All right,
And if I can speak on that as well.
go ahead.
So I was behind removing the elected official raises, not the law department ones, but it's also, if you look at the charter, it says raises can only, I understand that they shall happen, but that's on years where CPI is over 3%. This year, it's at 2.9%. So not only like morally, but legally, it's just not a possibility for elected officials to get raises this year. The argument is, well, we missed it last year when it was 3.4%. We could have done it last year, we didn't. So I think if they do want to do this for the raises for elected officials, the legal process would be, I don't know if it's resetting those numbers in the charter and doing back pay or what, but I think legally it's not even allowed to do it because of, again, we're at 2.9% this year. So that's why I am also in favor of this. But it wouldn't be just a cap at 6%. It would be striking all elected official raises. That's all. Okay.
Good enough. All right, number 14. Maintenance.
Capital outlays for sidewalks. This is a number that we've increased throughout the years. This is a match that the city does with the residents. One of the things that I felt that, again, we're increasing, and I understand the thought process behind it, because as costs increase, so does the material for these, and you still want to give everybody the opportunity to apply for the matching grant on this. But as we're going back, I just felt to keeping it to last year's number was necessary.
Engineer, good.
I mean, I've already turned people away this year. That's why I asked for more money. They've done the work. They've turned in their receipts. They've paid their contractors. I can't come up with the money. I can't keep my end of the deal, or the city's end of the deal. So, because of which I have invoices sitting, and I'm waiting for this next budget to pay them from last year. So I asked for more money so I can catch up.
Thank you.
All right, number 15.
This was something that I didn't support as an amendment last year, which is contractual stormwater. The city has done a great job in remediating a lot of the infrastructure that we had through stormwater. With the flooding incidents we had, I think that if you look at the past several weeks with the amount of snow that we received and the maintenance that the city has done for preventative maintenance and the work we've done, I think that we can kind of cut this in half. That will still have the amount in there if necessary for flooding and whatnot, but this was something that we increased throughout the years, and I think that we can bring it back to a line that is reasonable for everybody, and that brings it down to about $175,000.
Also disagree with that. We have MS4 regulations from the EPA and the DEC now, which has heightened all of our reporting, all of our work that needs to get done. We could be fined $40,000 a day for being out of compliance. Equally, this is contractual, so we need consultants for some of this.
And this is something that we increased that was never a line item before. And the reason why I say that is that we talk about unfunded mandates. This would be something to bring to the state for AIM funding that, listen, you keep bringing unfunded mandates to us, and you need to increase AIM funding because we can't afford it in our budget anymore.
That's fine.
I appreciate
do less
it.
with less.
Thank you.
Next one, 16.
The other one is street cleaning, other supplies and materials. Again, bringing it from $525,000 to $500, bringing it a change to $25,000. Again, if we're looking at cutting amendments and trying to get the budget down, this was something that I felt was necessary. Because again, we go back and we look at some of the amendments. Some of them are contractual salary lines that have to be paid. This is something that the city can cut back if needed and not go after people's pay that is actually due. So I was trying to find ways to come up with a budget that wouldn't affect something that we would actually have to pay. That's it. Thank you.
17, street lighting.
Can I say something on that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's our salt line. And we just went over 500,000 on that salt line with the month of February we had, so.
Yeah, it was said at the last meeting.
500,000 in the month of February for our salt line, and we stole the state money because we couldn't get salt. No, there's
No.
not a million. It was 380,000 in it. We went over 500,000.
Right, and I hope that we don't have another winter like we
I
have for
don't
another
hope that I
for
have
another
another
10
one
years.
like that first month.
I agree.
That's all I
Thanks,
got
man.
to say.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And we appreciate what you did this year, man. But you're not getting the money.
Some streets won't get salt.
Street lighting.
Services, people. You know, if you want these services, taxes
We
have
got
to
it,
go
Rec.
up.
Rec, we got it. Go ahead, street lighting.
Thanks. Street lighting is for electric. This is another line that we decreased last year, kind of bringing it back down to the rough number we had of $1.1 million. It was original error when it was originally submitted down to the council. It was from 1,175 to 1 million. That $75,000 change that's all I was asking for. So that was it.
And none of these were taken as a joke. We looked at every one of these, and we know they're difficult cuts, but, you know, we're trying to keep it down. Next one, 20, fire line.
This one is for overtime for the fire line. One of the things that this council approved was the SAFER grant to bring 8 additional firefighters to the complement. With that said, we're nearly staffed at what we should be with an additional 8 firefighters, and I think cutting that overtime line and trying to get it to a place where we should be, again, during budget cuts, I'd rather see it come from a line that we could probably and hopefully stay within rather than the possibility of exceeding it. And that's it. Thank you.
Next one's 21. I'm sorry, any?
Which overtime line are we talking about? The emergency overtime, the 412-103 line? Or
Yes, the 412-103 overtime line.
Okay, so that's our emergency overtime line?
Mhm.
So, right now, we're gonna be overdrawn after the month of February that we had.
Said, these are nothing that, nobody wants to make cuts. I'd just rather see it to lines that we could hopefully stay within the next year.
Yeah, we just had, 4, we're gonna have 4 retirements. Yeah. It starts Monday, we have a couple going in, we have one going in, we have a lateral transfer in there, and then we got to fill in other positions. 207A, we have 4 firefighters that are out long-term. Then throughout the year, this past year, we've had a number of injuries that have been taken up to a year to recover from.
This is emergency, right?
Yeah, so the first one is emergency overtime. So when we have a greater alarm fire, we call back personnel to make sure that there's other fire trucks available to answer calls.
Thank you, Chief. Number 21.
Again, this is same rationale for the police uniform division for overtime. It goes from 200,000 to 170,000. And again, it goes, the parks maintenance overtime and DPW central garage, 15,000 for those 2 lines. They're the same, echoing the same sentiment on those lines for overtime.
I mean, you guys are gonna do what you wanna do with the overtime, and I get it. But you're cutting 15,000, or how much is that, Dave?
15,000.
15,000 out of the overtime for the parks, and then there was an amendment for 30,000 out of the seasonal. That's $45,000 out of overtime for the parks guys. And the
I don't plan on supporting the seasonal one.
Well, I just was gonna get that out now.
I agree, and I think that I was being a little conservative in my cuts to the overtime lines.
I'm
And
just explaining our end.
I 100% agree with you.
Okay, so now we're gonna go take a look at the other ones here from Councilman Bitar.
Hey, are we gonna talk about the police overtime?
Yeah, I skipped over you and kind of clumped them in, so.
Just want to comment. I mean, we're going to do it, but, you know, as you all know, that accounts for last minute calls, critical incidents, special events.
Where are we now?
St. Patrick's Day, which is this weekend, July 4th, Playmaker, Tunnels for Towers, New Year's. We always try and manage and be fiscally prudent, but if we cut it, and, you know, we're going to continue to respond to those incidents. The only thing we could cut, if we had to, is special events. Put that on the record.
I got a question. So, for overtime, it goes by seniority, right?
So
you paid a captain salary, you paid a lieutenant salary, you paid a sergeant salary. It's different than a patrol.
So the councilman, the overtime that this is referenced is for the last minute calls. It would be an incident like that occurred at Singertown Mall last weekend. It would be for major events, critical incidents, stuff like that.
We did give you approved an extra captain to help with those coordination of those special events as well. I appreciate it.
We did fight hard for that other captain.
We appreciate it.
All right.
obviously, if you have emergency calls, no matter what the overtime is, they're gonna do it, so. You gotta do it, you gotta do it.
So really, if it came down to it, and we were told we had to make a, you know, seriously make a cut, it would have to be to one of the special events.
You're not gonna cut.
I mean,
And if it comes after the special events, you're not gonna have to worry, you don't worry about the overtime.
Correct.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Exactly, yep.
So really, doesn't mean nothing.
We do a lot of inter transfers during the year.
Yep.
Councilman Bitar, number one.
Yeah, all right, so to summarize here, there's going to be right around 23 minus any duplicates that we went through. I think the total adjustments to the total police line is about point.
I got engineering
You're
on
on
this.
engineering one.
No, I'm just summarizing first before I go through. So I think the total adjustment to police was 0.0098%, and fire I think was 0.0068% in total revisions. So starting with that first line for engineering, the contractual 811. Looking at it now, current year to dates as of 3/6, I had it about $115,000. Even, being generous, saying that'll go up to $175,000. The new recommendation of 190 still accounts for a 9% increase year over year in that
Where
line.
are you, Joe?
Number one.
I thought this was engineering. So where are you getting those numbers?
Engineering contractual 811, line 411,
Yeah.
under the engineering department. So I'll back up. So what we have in our packets is roughly from February of 2025. So I went into Munis on March 6th and got new updated numbers to see if my amendments still were tracking. And if something wasn't tracking, I'd remove the amendment because the numbers were over. So when I'm getting these new year-to-dates, it's from 3/6 search and Munis, just to make sure that we're still tracking for those correct numbers and everything still makes sense.
Does,
We go from 225 to 190.
I've got to date, I spent 114,000.
Yep, that's exactly what I had in the most recent Munis
Remaining of
search.
70, I got 40,000 encumbered, which is the money that must be the last bills I just signed. But I got this other, you've got, in one of these other amendments that you want to assign some of this to CHIPS money,
That one's mine, I'll go over that.
which is not eligible. We'll
I
get to
didn't-
that.
Yeah,
but-
we will get to that.
So.
No, this is just the
That's a separate
811.
I mean, I have 70,000 left in the account, sure, I got a month left, but I
Okay.
can't, I
Can I-
don't tell the people who can dig or not.
Can I-
They just randomly call that phone number.
Yeah, I get it, and I was generous in that 9% year-over-year increase. I was conservative with allowing for that additional growth in calls as the next year goes on too. Yep.
But that's all of us too, when we locate the stumps, the
Everybody.
trees.
Everybody.
Stop signs, there's more than just the one.
Everybody.
And at this time of the year now, Joe, Councilman, this is our busiest time. So it does reflect towards the winter that we don't use it that much, but we also use it.
No, for
There's a lot
sure.
of other stuff that we do use it for, just
And to
those
be,
guys.
and to just be clear, we are contractually obligated to this.
Could we get those final numbers that you just said again? The final figures that we're at year-to-date?
Yeah, year to
It
date.
was 115 or so plus.
40 incoming.
But you have to remember, there's at least
114 spent to date. I've got 40,000 encumbered, which must be these last invoices, which gives me a remaining of 70,000. Out of 225, no, that's not right. Out of 225, yeah, 40, 70, it's 130, 225, yeah. So I have 70,000 left.
we still get invoices into May.
Yeah, past the fiscal year. Okay. All right, you're good. Any other questions on that by any council members?
All right, let's go to number two, parks maintenance.
Yeah, this was brought up through another council person's amendment. It came up at our meeting the other day as well. So when I went through this, I looked March 6th year-to-date's around $70,000 for the seasonal. So I built in and said, let's say that goes up to $100,000, and a 10% increase on that would be the 110 recommended. So that's where we came to that.
Just remember that the seasonal laborers really take on the additional workload that the department has undertaken in the past. All the urban renewal properties, all the code abatements, helping with the Parks Department, helping with the homeless. So it's a critical budget line to have the full complement if we can.
No, yeah, understood, and just looking through where we can make these shifts. Is the current year-to-date still at 70,000?
Yes, because we used it, when the summer help kids had left, they all went back to school. And we used that money for the overtime for the full-time employees. And we did raise it over 70,000 last year to get that amount, because we knew that we would have that issue.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm looking, I think fiscal year '24 was around 100, but obviously we don't know where we're going to end up until the end of the fiscal year, obviously. But any other questions by council members here?
Yeah, I got a question. So are we still using the employment agency downtown?
Yes.
And have they increased their
No.
The wages?
Not since.
wages and, they're increasing their?
I talked to them last week, and they're gonna hold for the city another year with the same rate as last year.
All right, Joe, number 3.
All right, Police Support Division telephone, the telephone line, a reduction of $7,000. The way I looked at this, the most recent year-to-date was around $27,000, and even if we got to 30 or 33,000, that still accounts for about 8.5% growth since that time. I don't know if the deputy chief has any comment on that one.
No, Councilman, appreciate you calling me on that one, and you're correct, the 3-year average is about 38,000. So I don't have any objection to that unless we have some unforeseen cost or increase in rate for the folks.
Thank you, Chief. Number 4.
Adjustment to infrastructure. I know Nick, our engineer, spoke on this recently as well. The way I looked at this one, these lines were zeros or close to zeros for several years. I think year-to-date was about $1,200, but obviously there's some plans into the next fiscal year where there was about $360,000 allocated to that line compared to the zeros in prior years.
Yep, and this is also on this other amendment for infrastructure to be covered under CHIPS.
I'll be talking.
I'm not listening, like, I'm not committed, like, every once in a while. I'll go to Joe's, like, a busy day. Like, I'm a.
Infrastructure repair. Like, maybe on the side.
Katie, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes.
You got the floor.
So we're back on, wanted to follow up on the infrastructure repairs point. I'm going to get into my logistics with Chips at the end of this, but my thing is, I don't like the idea of, if this is a repair, like, make it a capital plan. This is something we should bond for, because why tax people every year for a project that we're going to do once? And I know we'll always find something to repair for, but in that case, do the capital plan and bond. I think it's more of a budget thing than as long as you guys get the money, but
I built
that's
this
a-
line. I
Yeah.
understand where you're at. We'd still eat it. But you pay for it one time, or you pay for it for 15 years. If you bond for that money, every year you're paying interest on that money for the next 15 years. Or you give it to me now, one time, and I spend it and I'm done with it. Next year, costs us nothing.
Taxpayers, it's not going to go, if they told me that this was going to go down.
I pay taxes too. I'm a Utican. I built these budgets knowing my taxes are gonna go up. These are
Right.
necessities, these aren't wants.
Right, and I'm saying let's
And for the $20,
provide it through a bond, if
what
not
is
through
that,
chips.
like one less pack of cigars that I'm gonna buy for the year? Like,
I don't really
I
want
mean, and
to,
bonding costs
that's not my
taxpayers
question.
money.
and bonding costs taxpayers money.
Yes.
We don't bond and then it disappears, we have to pay for it. And you saw that our debt service went up astronomically in this budget because we
So
got
one-
into this
so
habit that we
just so
bonded
everybody
and
knows-
bonded and bonded and bonded and bonded.
Thank you,
And now
Chief
our
why I
debt
look at it
service
the
is
way I do.
higher
One
and it
time.
costs the
I
taxpayer
understand.
money.
So, but when there's repairs and projects throughout the entire city, we need to prioritize which ones. If this is the one up, I'm good with that. I don't care how well, I do care. But for everybody listening, this year, $346,500 equals 1%. This item alone is 1% sales, or property tax. That could bring down the budget. I'm saying that's, if we do through the bond, I understand it grows the debt, but this is also where, I'll get to the chips part at the end, and I'll tell you that, but
Can
that's
I
where
just
I'm
say
at.
one
Thank
thing
you.
on that? Katie, good points, but let me tell you something, okay? What's it gonna cost the city if a taxpayer drives off the road and hits a pole and they sue us, that we already cut the law office, they sue us because we don't have lights? So that's an important thing.
I'm not saying
Street
don't do
lighting
it.
in a major area is an important thing.
This is the infrastructure repairs line. Okay, yeah,
Yes,
I'm not
but it's
thinking
all
lights.
part of the lights. It's infrastructure for the cable
Our
underground
deputy engineer
to run
said-
the lights.
That's street lighting. There's a misconception here. This is what I was saying before. Infrastructure and street lighting are two different things. You're talking street lighting. Infrastructure was the vaults. Infrastructure is the parking lot below City Hall that's gonna fall in maybe in the next few months.
Wait a second. Wait a second. We just talked on this 362,000, where she wants to cut it, 200,000. You told me all the time that the problem was, can't have the lights because they gotta dig underground to repair the fiber
I
optic cable.
absolutely didn't. But there are duplicate.
That's not infrastructure?
There are duplicate numbers. I asked for this kind of money for street lighting too.
It's infrastructure department.
I may have.
Not the other one.
Yeah, well, they are two separate
Yeah.
departments, technically. Joe, I may have misled you. I had $350,000 for street lighting. I had $400,000 for infrastructure. Those are what I asked for when I went in on my very original bid, or request, I should say. The mayor in Elmire massaged my numbers. I misspoke to you. You're
Okay.
talking about street lighting. She's talking about infrastructure.
Okay, and the only reason I talked infrastructure is because
They are the same-
The way
they are
you
the same
explained
money.
it to me is they have to dig and
Well,
repair a cable underground.
No doubt.
Okay,
But, you know,
they weren't repairing the lights, they're repairing
They're
the
still
infrastructure.
repairing the lights.
Right.
But they have to dig.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Katie, you all done?
Yes, thanks.
I need to just add something.
Go ahead.
Just one thing to keep in mind with this budget line, that was increased significantly, but that also is directly related to the paving reserve fund balance that was moved in, $350,000, and because those are restricted funds, if you get rid of, any funds you get rid of out of that repair lines, it would be it wouldn't be smart to keep that reserve fund there because those are
Well, and also,
restricted.
question on that, the council set those restricted funds, right? Yes, that's, we determine the restricted funds. Yes, right? No, not in this budget, but that is, when we talk about restricted, that's our own imposed restrictions that we can change as we need and see fit, that benefits the city. That's all I wanted to.
Just to
I'm sure
follow
it'll
up
come
on, sorry, just to follow up on a comment from our budget director, could you say that one more time? The 360 was put in that line for paving purposes?
For no project set in stone specifically, but to add to street repairs.
Please speak up, I can't hear you.
No project in particular, but to add to street repairs in some aspect.
So I don't understand what that means. So it's money you got put aside in case something happens, or?
There is a reserve fund, I don't know how much exactly how much it has it in, I don't have it memorized, but we have a paving reserved fund that we can utilize for additional projects related to paving or street maintenance needs.
How about ADA compliance? So we have to keep on doing that?
That's not paving, can't use it for that.
So can you, sorry.
But that, you can use it under CHIPS money.
But it's in the charter, the actual requirements. So I'm sure you guys can pull it up yourselves as well. But I'm just saying that.
It could cover, it could absolutely cover some of the ADA work. We have earthwork, we have to provide handicap parking spaces, right?
Yeah, but I mean, by a certain date, we gotta be ADA compliant.
Yeah, we've got 5 phases. We're doing the second phase this year. 2028, I believe, is the end, fully ADA across all 14 or 17 parks, yep. And
That's a mandate.
that's a mandate. We're by law being sued currently still for it. And if I don't meet the years that we already put a schedule out, what parks we're doing, in what years we're doing them, and if I fall behind, I breach the settlement that we don't even have yet, right? But I breach the whole contract of the lawsuit and can be called back to the table and sued again. So that reserve money can absolutely go there. We don't have, currently we're looking to find allocations for money for this 25-26 year right now. 900,000 to $1 million is what I'm looking for.
It's not specifically for ADA. It could be.
But hold on, so how does that?
But this is the reason for it is to, we're constantly trying to add more benefits to the taxpayers, and this is one of them.
No, I get that, but how does the paving tie into the infrastructure line compared to the projects that our engineer was describing? It kind of seems like we're.
It's not. Paving you can only use for streets, the way the law's written.
Yeah.
And that was approved.
CHIPS, you can't use parking lot, you can't use CHIPS money for parking lots, for
You can for city parking
garages.
lot.
You cannot use them for municipal-owned city anything unless it's for mass transportation. So if we're sitting on the thruway and 75 people come and park and then leave.
I know it's not a city hall
something-
lot, but if it's one of our parking garages, it's for the public and transportation, that's what they
No, and mass
told.
transportation is the very much,
But the definition of mass is open to the public, so our,
no, mass transportation, like
Right.
commuter, hold on. I'll give you the exact words, just so I'm not.
we can get to the CHIPS car at the end. This is why we should probably, let's wait
I
for
got
CHIPS
it
at the
in here,
end.
it's exact words, it's mass commuter transportation, which is people getting on a bus
We'll
or
do the
that,
next one, though.
or train or other and leaving.
We'll do the next
Let's
amendment.
move on, all right?
All right, so I'm gonna be going to the next one, number 5.
Yeah, we talked about this one earlier, the police uniform division holiday pay. I'll defer to the comptroller's office if they give us a calculation on this.
Yeah, I mean.
Not
so-
right now, I mean, just
Yeah.
a
The
table
Councilman and I
for.
spoke about this one, and I think, there really should be a set number. We have it projected actually much higher. There might be a little bit of wiggle room there, but I think we need to get a solid number from the comptroller before we commit to this one.
So I'm gonna put a hold on this one then.
Yeah, and I noticed
Are we
that.
doing it in committee anyways?
Well, it is,
Put
it's
it
in
in so they
committee.
can work it.
But, I mean, the point is, I think we do need to pin down a number based on solid math, because, I mean, even the departmental request is different than the mayor and E&A approved figure. So either way, I think we have to pin something down.
All right, I'm putting down it may need to be adjusted. That's, I'm gonna flip it over,
I
right?
think we can agree to all three of those, right, Councilman? So you have uniform criminal investigation and support.
So that'll be 5, we'll say 9.
It is, yeah. It's contractual and it should, it
I'm
really
looking
should be
through.
a fixed number. We just need to get that number from the council.
Okay, then, it's not differential.
Correct, we just want to get the exact number so we're not, we can see if it can be reduced or not per the contract.
So 5 and 9 in this packet, I don't know the exact number, Councilman Beatrice, in your packet with the police
No,
overtime.
I got 5, you said there was 3, I got 5 and 9.
5 and 9, and the third might be in the separate packet that was proposed, which I don't know the number, Councilwoman Colosimo Testa, the proposal we were talking about previously?
No, I never touched any of the differential holiday pay or.
No, the police overtime that was proposed, that you spoke about roughly a half an hour ago, I think that might have been
It's
the third
13,
that affects.
5, 9, and 13.
5, 9, 13,
Yeah.
okay.
It's
In this packet, okay.
All right, we're gonna move to number 6.
Okay, here for off-street parking, contracted services. So thought process here, year-to-date as of 3/6 is about 30,000. Even if we close at about 40,000, the 50,000 proposal is an increase from the previous year, and also a savings of $25,000 from the E&A approved. Is there any comment on this one?
Yeah, what was the contracted services for 75,000?
So that's contracted services. We're RFP'd a company to help manage the actual parking. Right now, we only have 2 parking attendants.
What are we paying 35,000 for right now on that line, though? Why the 50,000 jump?
Yeah. So
Or 40.
that is, well, we had to pay $15,000 to write the RFP. That was some of that money. And then, could be monitoring, I don't know. I don't actually have that one. It could be monitoring, but I know that the request came from, we're adding these parking companies to help us manage the parking and also manage our on-street parking, which is to come.
Once we implement the parking meters, we're gonna need for somebody to come in to manage that.
Yeah.
I believe that's what.
And when is that planned for?
Softly, I'm looking to roll out portions of the parking, mainly just very much downtown here specifically, by like July.
Do we have a?
Soft timeline, of course, because, I'm still
Is there a
developing.
soft revenue on that?
That's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
yeah, that's what we're getting at. Is
absolutely,
there a revenue
absolutely.
side of that
All
too?
right.
Yeah.
I'm not really, I'll say it, but it could change, just for the record.
Yes.
All right, but as numbers on paper, I'm looking to increase another 500,000 in parking.
That's what I like to hear.
Just numbers on paper,
We're gonna make 500,000.
more.
Well, that's good, let's roll it
Right now,
out.
we bring in 500,000 with our parking garages. We don't charge for Union Blandina. We don't charge for car park. We do charge for our 3 garages. We bring in about 500,000 in that.
I'm
Once
excited
I
when you could get them
roll
out.
out all the street parking that we have downtown, I'm expecting, just by simple
Where are
math,
these parking meters gonna go?
they're not meters, they're gonna be QR codes. I'm gonna have stations like
Yeah,
Zone
where are
G.
they gonna be?
All through downtown.
Like
Right
on the
now,
streets,
it's,
sidewalks.
right now, we're from Oriskany Boulevard, well, actually, from Utica Coffee, all the way up to the United Square is the,
Not gonna make the store owners happy.
listen,
I have business owners
I
requesting.
have,
Talk to Ford, that don't want it.
I can give you.
we
those as well.
keep talking about helping the taxpayers. How many people use our city that don't live in our city? They use our services, they drive our roads, they use our lights, they walk our sidewalks. They park here, earn money at their jobs. They use our services. They do not
Contribute.
contribute. The store owners, what?
No, people, for example, Utica college students will come in, they'll park all day for 8 hours, and then they end up leaving, and
And that hurts
there's
the
no
store owner.
monitoring of what's happening,
Because
so
then if you want to go
the
get
turnover
coffee,
helps.
you can't park
Anyway.
because somebody took your spot.
But no, to your point, I remember Nick talking with you last week or so, and just saying, we are the Metro Center, the entire county is using our city, and we are paying
600,000
for the
people.
services of
Simple math.
everyone.
Everybody gave me $1, it's $500,000, $600,000.
So just for clarification purposes, and I think that this is what this body does, unless it is implemented, and you go ahead and you give a revenue amount, okay? Without it for being for sure, it shouldn't be a revenue line.
Exactly.
Now, what should happen is when you actually put these parking meters in, and you have an estimated amount, once these are done, that transfer needs to be done through E&A, okay? Because again, you can't estimate for revenues for something that's not there.
And I wasn't.
I know,
I
and that's
wasn't.
why I'm saying.
I'm
So what
softly talking about this.
this is what could possibly happen, because you just put a bright light on everybody's head to say that you're gonna now estimate revenues for something that you could
That
possibly
doesn't
start
exist. I'm
in
with
July.
you. I'm with you.
So what I'm saying for this body, and I know that I won't support it until it's actually done, that's when it's complete and they're installed, that's when a transfer needs to be made to increase that dollar amount in
And
the
you won't
budget.
see that dollar amount till the end of the fiscal year. I mean, that's the reality of
Of
it too.
26.
Of 26.
So
Right.
just so that we're not jumping
Just
the
so
gun.
we're aware, but I'm looking
right?
at
Because
fiscal
you
year
can't account for
25, 26.
$500,000 in your
My plan is
budget
to increase it in that fiscal year.
for
This
something
is
that's
how I'm
non-existent.
Imagining.
We all got that.
Imagining.
Because if we put
We-
$50,000 in our parking meters that didn't exist last year's budget, we'd be in the
Well,
same
All
boat.
right, well, let's go to the number, we got it, thank you. Number 7.
Okay, police administration, rentals, looking at current year-to-dates as of March 6th, we're looking, let's say, $8,500. The thought process here is if it goes up to even $10,000, it allows, with the reduction, still a 50% increase and saves $20,000. And also is well above the 23, 24 figures for that line as well.
What does actually this line do?
So this is for, so it's for copier leases, mainly copiers, honestly. And it's, as of today, we're at $9,847.55. So we don't dispute that amendment.
Thank you, let's move on. Number 8.
I think this was a inadvertent duplication. I think other council members submitted this one, correct?
So you could just throw this out?
Okay, yeah.
All right, we're pulling number 8.
Pull number 8. Number 9 is one that we discussed, deferring to the comptroller for that solid number, so I think we could go to number 10. Okay, police administration, education, and training. This is one I did not speak with the deputy chief about. Looking through this line, the thought is current year-to-date as of March 6th was just over 14,000. Before that, fiscal year 23, about 4,300. Fiscal year 24, about 600. So staying in line with a reduction to 15,000 and potentially saving $15,000 as well. But given the updated year-to-dates, if $20,000 is more feasible at this point.
So, unfortunately, Councilman, I get your numbers and, but contractually, as per the collective bargaining agreement with PBA that the city agreed to, the city has to allocate $65,000 to that line. At the end of the year, when it's reconciled, that, they may not be used, but it should show it funded at the dollar amount.
I just want to make sure I have this. So, so for the departmental request here, it looks like it was the 65,000, and then the mayor approved line is 30,000. Is that?
So I'm guessing that message was never conveyed to the mayor. Just picked up on it today. I saw the amendment and recalled the CBA, and that's why I would have given you a heads up.
Okay, fair enough.
So you're gonna amend to add 35,000 to that?
Well,
No.
if the correct figure was initially in there, we wouldn't have to worry about that one.
It's contractual, so if everyone decides to go to college for further education, the city would still have to pay you even if it wasn't in the budget.
So was this
That's the police administration.
administration? Yeah, police admin. Okay. No, well, the point is, I mean, now it's a situation of departmental request 65,000, saying it's a requirement, but the ENA approved budget that came to us was already at 30,000.
Right.
So it should have been at 65,000 in the first place before it even got to our desk.
So two wrongs don't make a right, right? So let's do the right thing.
And that's a result of poor communication on our.
No, I mean, it happens. We're talking about probably thousands of lines here as we go through.
So what are we doing? What do we want to do then? Toss it? Or is that what you're good?
We could discharge 10 if it's contractual. I mean,
So we want to discharge it, right?
Sounds good, yeah. I don't want to distract you.
Amend it to add it. Okay.
Okay,
So that's gone?
number, I don't know what it is. What are we doing with that?
I'm waiting for more information.
Joe?
Up to you.
once I think we see in writing it's 65,000, then we could discharge. I'm not taking, definitely taking Deputy Chief's word for it here. I completely agree until we see something. It's fine.
It is. I can get you a copy of the contract.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, number 11.
Number 11, fire line replacement OT. The thought here is, so right now, year-to-date, Chief, as of March 6th, it's about 640. Has that number gone up? I don't know if you have those figures.
I have one from early February, but yeah, so that 640 doesn't include February's overtime yet.
Okay.
And so we still have to make it through February's and March's.
And I think this is one where probably defer to the comptroller's office for that solid number, because it is another line where we have a departmental request, and then we have a mayor-approved line that differ. So I think if we have just solid math on that, just to get a finalized answer from our comptroller's
Yeah,
office.
just going into the new fiscal year, though, we, due to the increased amount of unexpected retirements this month there, because we had another 3 guys retiring, so we are going to see an increase due to that until we can get them replaced.
All right. Any questions, anyone?
One question on that, and I mentioned it, Ed, like, how many you have retiring this year?
So we had, this month, we have 5 retiring this month.
Now, how do you reduce that amount that they were going to be paid this year from the budget?
They just submitted their retirement.
Right, so how do you go ahead and say, okay, that's 5 less firemen we had this year? How do we reduce the amount?
Well, we got to replace them.
When are you going to replace all 5?
So we have an academy starting Monday, so for a couple of those guys, it's too late, so we're going to be replacing them in August.
So we got a hole between now and August, correct?
Yeah.
So how do we
we're gonna be-
take that revenue or that expense that they were going to be taking between now and August as a savings?
We're going to have to replace them. We're not going to see a big savings because we have minimum daily staffing that we have to make.
So I don't see a problem taking the money away from the replacement overtime because you're going to have.
We're still gonna have salary.
You're going to have a lot of salary money
Yeah,
that
we could
you
do some
wouldn't
line
be
transfer
spending,
through.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can,
They got a month to pull their papers too, so they're not even officially retired yet. So you can't guarantee the savings of their salary.
Yep.
So they actually come off the books. They have a terminal leave period, and they also have a period that they can pull their papers and not retire.
Yep.
So it's not even confirmed yet. You can't make those adjustments until it is.
Yep.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Next one, street lighting, 12.
Street lighting capital outlay, these were zeros for a while. I see the departmental request was 350 here. Nick, does this tie into the infrastructure requests that we were talking about earlier?
Yep.
Okay.
For 350. Correct?
this is a 22,000.
This was a $22,000
This is the
line.
22,000, this must have been
For capital outlay.
nuts,
Shows
fuses,
lights.
wire, bolts, day-to-day expenditures throughout the whole year.
So, and this line looks like it's been zeros for the past few fiscal years. That's why I'm
Could
just
have
looking
been.
at it. Okay.
There was a lot of, as I was going through the budgets, there were a lot of lines that we were maybe not utilizing properly, or just trying to put everything in its place where it belongs, and this is part of that. Knowing that where we've added, maybe this, we've taken away in other places, because you have to reallocate the funds, right, in that way.
But don't we own the street lighting now?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the state will build it, and they'll give it to us graciously, because it costs too much to maintain.
We did the LED lights.
We spent
Yep.
$11 million to save money, and that was just.
Which, you know, to bring up more of street lighting, currently I got New York State safety permits coming at me because the homeless and metal scrappers are stealing the covers off the lights and turning them in. And then the state will go by and they'll flag us for safety. And you can't buy just the cover. They don't sell you just covers, they sell you the whole light for $30,000, literally. So, you know, yeah, lighting is a lucrative business, apparently.
In the dark and all the lighting.
All right, number 13,
I think we could actually skip to number 15.
what are you gonna do with 13?
14 is the next one.
Well, 13 and 14 were the discussions with.
What are we gonna do with
Deputy-
13?
Well, we discussed with Deputy Chief, those ones relating to those potential
That's
contractual
gonna be
lines to get
delayed
the
then,
figure, yeah.
13 and 14.
All right, 13 and 14 delayed.
Yeah, and then number 15, police at,
14 is that was one of them that we put away already. You don't have to. Yeah, we do.
I got a 13 in front of me.
Holiday.
I think it might have been a different line.
Yeah, well, now we're on
There's
14.
holiday pays for 3 divisions.
Oh, so there's 3 holidays, okay.
All right, so what are we doing, delaying 14, correct?
Just hanging on for finalized numbers, yeah.
Okay.
And then, then
We're on
15.
15 now.
Yeah, for 15, police admin, computer equipment, looking here, years past, fiscal year '24 closed at just under 19,000. The proposal is for 40,000, which is a $10,000 savings. And current year-to-date, what I have as of March 6th is right around 38,000. Deputy Chief, I don't know if your numbers are matching that.
You're good.
Right there? Okay.
We have 40,000, 18,000, close to 40,000. We requested 50,000 because, like everything else, we anticipated costs going up, but understand.
All right, let's move on. Number 16.
Parks maintenance, gas and oil. Looking at this, the thought process was, I have current year-to-dates, right around 22,000. 22,000, it looks like the prior fiscal year closed around 26,000. And it calls for a $15,000 reduction. And just looking, even if we closed at 25,000, still about 15,000 more than the prior fiscal year. So.
That's fine,
All right, we're moving on to 17.
Number 17, fire prevention software. All right, looking here, prior fiscal years, 23 closed at just under $1,000. 24 closed just under $2,000. We have a budget of $15,000, recommended reduction to $3,000, which still would be roughly twice the fiscal year 24 close on that one.
Yeah, so our original request was more than, it was about $45,000, just because we have a system called the Knox Box. They're located on buildings throughout the city. They have alarm systems. We use that to make entry into buildings after hours. They're a secure system. Knox Box has released an updated system that's electronic tracking, so we had hoped to upgrade to that. We had originally cut that to $15,000. It wasn't going to be enough to do that system, so that $3,000 is fine. We have a new incident reporting system that we have to use to complete fire investigations, so that's what the software remaining will go for.
If anyone has questions on that line.
All right, moving on, 18.
All right, fire prevention out of title pay, dropping this from 17.5 to 0 to match the prior fiscal years. This is one where there are a lot of zeros from.
Yeah, I think that was just an inadvertent, that wasn't, I think it was just a misentry, possibly.
Okay, so good on that 17.5,
Yeah,
okay.
All right, next one, 19.
That was 18, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe said.
19 right now.
Yep, fire line safety. Our chief and I spoke about this one the other day. I think there were an order on. Could you explain that again? I think this is the one we discussed where there's a pending order.
Yeah, so there's a pending order on turnout gear, so we just ordered another 10 sets. Turnout gear, we're on a 5, we try to get everybody, when they initially get hired, they gotta have 2 sets, and then we try to be on a 5-year rotation for turnout gear. Due to cost increases over the last couple of years, we're about, to fully outfit a new firefighter is about $5,000 in turnout gear, so we're gonna be using up a substantial amount of money to just outfit new firefighters and then to keep every firefighter on a 5-year rotation. You can, our repair lane's gonna go up on the turnout gear.
Okay, and
So is this feasible to you?
If it's something that we gotta do, we'll try to make it work. We can't account, we lost, just as an example, the Whitesboro Street fire that we had in February, we lost 2 sets of turnout gear due to thermal damage that happened to our firefighters when they were upstairs searching for a couple unaccounted for children. So, we lose a coat that's, the coat performed great. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. It protected our firefighter, but during that time, it's a quick $2,000 bill. So when we lose turnout gear, that becomes expensive.
is the current year to date still at 50K? Just want to make sure I have the most up to date numbers. If you have it, chief. If not, we could follow up. Okay.
Yeah, I can't.
Should be 54 now.
Okay, on March 6th?
March 6th, 50K. Yep. And then prior fiscal years, fiscal year 24 closed around 38, and then before that 44 and 23.
All right, going to 20.
This is probably another one of those that fall into the category, just getting a finalized number from our comptroller's office on overtime. And the thought process here while looking at this line was, March 6th year to date was about $2,500, a bit more. Even closing at 3,500 would allow a good percentage increase year over year.
Bless you.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, you can.
All right, number 21.
21, I think this is another inadvertent duplication. I think other council members submitted this. Councilwoman Close-Maltese, does this look like the same as the 525 to 500?
The salt one.
It's identical.
You gotta take a peek in here.
Macaroni.
And it's the same number too, it looks like 525 to 5?
All right, we're gonna pull that then, right, Joe?
Yeah.
All right. 21 being pulled. Going to 22.
All right, 22 comptroller abstract fees. The initial allocation was 30,000. The recommendation is down to 15,000 for a savings of 15,000. Thought here was updated year to dates is $0 as of March 6th, and then fiscal year 24 also closed at $0 on this line. Not sure if anyone has questions or comments. But.
I would take out 30, but yes, I'm good with this one. Yeah.
You okay with 22?
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to 23.
All right, on to 23, another one. I believe this was submitted the 175 to, I think the two might have been different, but the amendment itself was submitted earlier. Say again?
Take yours over.
Oh, the extra 5,000, right?
Disregard.
I was
Get rid of it,
conservative on
Joe.
mine, so.
Well, discharge
All right, we're
goes.
pulling that one.
Okay.
23. Pulling 23, we're going to
24 through 34. I'm gonna not go through these fast, but we talked about a lot of them already. 24 we're getting rid of because it was a.
Don't go through them fast, please.
Well, 24 is a duplicate.
Hang on, hang on. Yeah, we're pulling 24.
Trying to boost morale. There's only
I mean,
5 basically to
Sam,
go,
are
that's what I'm
you, I
saying.
mean, are you pulling 24?
Yep,
All right, we're pulling 24.
because it already exists.
All right.
So 25 through 28. This I have highlighted in yellow. We're not actually removing any police officers. We're not trying to take away from the 165 we have. The table of organization shows 169 positions paid. We have the 3 positions for the 2 vacancies that happened with the sergeants and the investigator. There will be promotions through that, and those, this all is happening because of the sunset clause. So now that that's out, these numbers, pages 25 through 28, reflect what those savings would be.
Just contractual piece, so.
So actually, there's a couple of things on these.
And if I can also add, I know the step conversation is going to come up. I did this based on, I was told even, I can't even remember, last year too, that the salary that's in the books is based off of the highest possible step that would happen in that year. That's what we budget for worst case scenario to cover ourselves for the year.
Which I don't even know how that's possible, because I that might have been what you were told, but I don't.
Well, we've never done a transfer really just to cover steps throughout the year, have we? That's not a thing.
But it's salaries, so I mean, it's like you still got to account for the steps because you have to budget for them.
Then that
So
should be
that's why I said I don't
separate.
understand what the highest possible step.
We know it's contractual, so we know it's going to happen. We know what date it is actually, so that's why we just budget for that highest number. You don't see extra salary lines and codes and stuff to cover for possible steps.
So, didn't you guys have, aren't these the ones we were discussing in the back there, Mayor, what you said? So what did we decide when we were in this discussion? Where are we?
So I'll answer on behalf of Mayor. The police uniform division for the salary lines, I still think that they are budgeted at that 10.5 correctly. Because if you take into the account the salary increases, that for the contractual obligation, for the raises they had to be paid this year, plus the steps and increases, I think that accounts for that 240,000.
Well, altogether, this is 350,000.
Inside that line.
Okay, so the way we put the other ones on hold until we get the exact numbers, can we do
We can
that
put,
here?
we'll put this on hold.
These, yes.
No. We're not gonna, I'll take the actual numbers, but 350,000, if there's steps and stuff, it's not 350,000 worth, and if it is,
It
let's
wouldn't
not
be
put it
350,000.
with all of them combined.
If you multiply that 9.8,
I'm saying, so.
so if you multiply that 9.48 that's in the budget last year, and you multiply it by that 1.035,
I'm looking at the bigger picture
which
of
is the
what all of
salary
them come
amounts,
to.
and then you account for the grades and the steps, that would account for that extra that you're
They shouldn't
saying.
be-
Because even if that's the case, your rationale wouldn't be that
No.
wouldn't be correct.
Okay, I'm gonna, here's my rebuttal with this, is these people were filled with positions. We were good when, nobody had that logic when all these positions were filled. So that doesn't, it's not true, it doesn't
Right,
apply.
but it's kind of the same thing
But
we
now
went
that
through
they're
last
open, you're
year.
trying to apply that logic and it doesn't work, so that's why we'll get the actual numbers, but that's not how we budget. And
But
if it
Katie,
is,
we
put
did
them on
the
a separate
same.
line.
We did the same exact thing last year, and you actually seen the salary lines be correct.
No,
without
we actually
taking that money
removed
out.
100,000 from the criminal investigation. I proposed these last year, and it was
they're
pushed
in,
back.
they're in the budget.
No, money was transferred out of those salary lines throughout the year, and that's okay, but we weren't using it, and this is another thing. So this,
So you're saying 100,000, but you're taking 240 out.
this is different now. Now we have 4 extra positions. I was talking about last year, but now so this is 240 for this one. Sorry, I'm applying number 25 through 28, all have the same logic and reasoning. So I'm just talking about these as a group. The Social Securities reflect 7.65% of whatever the salary is. And it's all based on, there's 169 salaries listed. We only have 165 officers. I wanted to keep them on. I fought for it. I hoped we could extend the sunsets. That didn't happen.
We didn't have sunset for police, we had sunset for.
Yeah, we did. It was December 31st they sunset, and then we had the 4 retirements.
It started December 31st. It doesn't mean it necessarily took place.
Well, no, in January, we had 4 retirements. It was 2 sergeants.
That was
and a-
ARPA, that was for ARPA money.
Yeah, and that was what that is. So the sunset happens, we had 2,
No, sunset
yeah.
was police.
But if we want to wait and get the actual numbers from everybody, I'm not going to discharge this until we see the numbers.
Can I comment on this?
And everybody else
So
is.
there's been a lot of questions about this amendment. We've been trying to get an answer. It's been very difficult. There's 2 kind of beliefs. One is that possibly the four officers that were supposed to be removed from the complement or the table of organization were not, and they were budgeted for in the most recent budget. The other belief is possibly that this could be the result of steps increases that weren't accounted for in the budget. I think there has to be some clarification from the comptroller's office to make the final determination along with the budget director. But I don't know if it can be a final decision can be made tonight as to what, if this money's there or not. And it's all four go together.
And I'll send you also, Almir, I have the exact dates of the retirees.
By Friday?
Yeah.
Well, I will say that, well, one thing I can confirm, I can't confirm the step increase conversation, but there are, I believe, after doing an actual count, there are 4 additional salaries. There's additional salaries for 4 officers in the complement. So the amendment is to reduce those 4. I can't confirm if the dollar amount is.
To clarify, not reduce officers.
Not reduce officers.
Salaries in the.
Reduce the salary.
Because when you made this budget, those retirements didn't even happen yet. So I think that's also part of it.
If that's
So
the
the-
case.
Elmir may have received the wrong table of organization.
No, I think that's all it was.
So basically,
That's not, we're not.
the table organization does not account for the retirees.
So can I ask
So
a
once the
question?
retirees take place, those will be reduced because of the sunset clause to 165.
But that's why it doesn't make sense, because if you account for those retirees, it exceeds that 240,000. So that's why
Right, it's
I'm
the total
saying that it goes
350.
back to the point where it's got to account for the steps and pay increases, not those retirements.
Right.
So that's why the numbers don't make sense, whether if it's 4 people or whether it's the
But if those people-
steps
so-
and grades.
Okay, we're gonna get those answers by Friday.
Can I say this too?
Yeah.
So we kind of figured this out at I was driving back from Albany about 3:45 this afternoon. Almir got hit with it, so I think, we talked to you guys, some people today, so that's why I think if
We'll wait till
everyone
Friday.
is okay with it, between now and Friday, we can get
Can,
an
can,
answer.
can you set up a meeting with you, Katie, and Almir and try to figure this out?
Well, it would be the
So I
comptroller's
really- so
office.
honestly, I think it's the budget director.
And comptroller.
Comptroller and.
You
I would
don't
just
need
like to
any
learn
council
from it.
person in there.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Councilman
So, yeah.
Vitar, did you have a
So,
question?
let me, one question. So if there's, and okay, I see that there is a mistake with 4 officers. But wouldn't the change be a lot more than 240,000?
Yes, this is what I keep
Four
saying.
people
If
were
you,
there?
you have to add up, the changes happen across different departments. It's the criminal investigation, the support division, and uniform division. So that's why pages 25 through 28 all kind of go together. But the expenses total $350,000 over 4 officers. And because 3 of them, no, 3 of them were the $90,000.
Well, the lines are in the.
Can
budget.
I, one
Yes.
second.
Go on.
So 3 officers are getting promoted to the 2 sergeant open spots and the 1 investigator. So those 3 officers were making about $90,000. Those are going to be sunset. And then we had 1 vacant $55,000 spot that is sunset. So 90, 90, 90, 55. You add the Social Security on that 7.65%. That's where this $350,000 number came from.
Okay.
And
All right, we'll
Vitar,
go
did you
Friday.
have-
Yeah, just a general question. You bring up E&A transfers, and I know we, as a council, only see over 15,000 in transfers come before us. Councilwoman Aiello is our representative on E&A. What do you recommend for a way to get a list of all E&A transfers, just so we can keep up with what lines are being
That'd be
transferred
great.
where?
It's
Yeah,
public
even if-
knowledge, their meetings
Well, I mean,
are-
I just wonder if there's a list, like our meetings are recorded.
They are on E-code, but I
Okay, so
think
they're all
it'd be
listed on E-code, so that's a good
a
source
good part of
to
our
look at.
reports,
Same
but
thing
yeah.
with contract and supply, it's there all the time.
Okay, so we could get a list of
Yes.
all those transfers. Very good.
Okay,
That's-
just to move on, so you're gonna take
We'll
these
do it for
4.
Friday.
We're gonna hang
You're
on.
gonna take these 4, we're gonna put them in, but they're gonna be on hold until we get a decision on them, all right?
Yep.
We go down there, everyone?
Who's responsible for doing that? 'Cause
You're responsible for
I can follow up with the
No, I just
controller.
want to make sure I'm not responsible.
So that means we'll move on to 29, because everything else was just as a pack that's going to be tabled till
You're
Friday.
good with that, right? You're gonna sit with Katie and whoever else would like to sit with her?
Okay.
Along with who else you think you need, all right? Please figure it out. Because this is a big amount. And if it does come to fruition, it really helps us.
Well, as I've said, my initial review of it, I believe that that's the case, that's true. And that would have been an error directly caused by me, so. But I'll take.
I hope you made a mistake.
We'll take the good error. It was an honest mistake.
We're happy about it.
It was an honest mistake.
But it was an error caused by him based on information he received.
Yeah.
So it's not, it was,
We'll still take you to dinner, don't worry about it.
it wasn't an error of his, it was an error, it was
Hope it's
error
not snowing.
information that he got.
No, I think it's.
No. All right, let's go to 29.
So 29, I
Not salt.
figured there would at least be an amendment or something. Basically, when you add up all of, Elmir, you were sitting with us in ENA. The mayor explained how 13.9 was recommended, but we actually feel a lot more comfortable at that 13.4 million number total for insurance, healthcare. And when you total up all the healthcares, it comes to that 13.9 he was originally saying was quoted. And again, looking at the fire department, it is really confusing how HRAs and HSAs are separated out this time when that's never happened before. So it's really hard to track now historically what each line's going to come in at, which is interesting. So, judging by what the mayor said, it does look like we're off by 460,000 when you compare it to the self-insurance page on 126. Sorry, I forgot that part.
The self-insurance page, I went back and forth with Diana. Me and her collectively need to sit with the auditors, because we don't believe we've been doing the accounting for the self-insurance fund appropriately. The 13.4 is also a mistake in my mind. It is supposed to reflect 13.7.
13.7.
13.7.
So does that mean there's 200,000 then of healthcare that should probably be? So our current
No,
total
so
here.
what I'm saying is the health insurance fund should reflect that 13.7.
13.7 this is the first time I'm hearing what that number is, because when you add up everybody else's healthcare, it comes to 13,950.
So we can talk about that.
Yeah, we'll put it on the list for everything else. And maybe it's about, those extra, I don't know, those 4 extra police officers.
Now,
are
as
part
far
of
as
it.
the separation between the HRA this year, we wanted to show historically the costs have just been clumped in one, but there is, depending on what plan you're on, and if your fire has a different contract than some police officers, but there's that HRA and HSA funded accounts based on single and family plans. It's $2,000 or $4,000. So we just wanted to break that.
Could we get the data of what it was in years past then to separate and understand what that means?
That would require, that's directly related to the number of employees, active and retirees.
Mhm.
So I'd have to get those numbers from Adirondack Financial Services to know the exact number of employees and just multiply it by whatever
Yeah.
insurance plan. And so I can get those for you.
Okay. I'm going to move on to the next one then if people.
Wait, I got a question on
Yep.
this one. Okay, so, as a city, we're self-insured, correct? So, if you are saying, okay, you're talking, and this is just a question, fire employees benefits, you're looking at this line here. So this line might be over, but the police line might be under. And
Well, that's why it might not be the fire line. If
so-
there is an overage, we need to figure out
well, I mean,
how
'cause
they want to
they're all-
apply
They're
it.
different. Plus, to be honest with you, we're self-insured. I mean, you're talking $460,000. Like I said this morning, my father-in-law went to Albany. The poor man passed away, but he was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and he got a bill for $560,000. We're self-insured. We're representing everybody in the city. I don't think this is a line that we want to play with and guess on revenue.
Well, fire.
Or, you know what I mean? It's everybody. I mean, it's great that it looks good at 460,000, but I'm not comfortable with doing that. So I'm not going to support this on that one, okay?
Yeah.
Out of curiosity with our plan, is there currently a stop loss in place if a claim goes over X amount of dollars, an outside insurance company pays it?
250,000.
So 250. How does that work? Can anyone explain that a little bit more?
You only have a certain amount of members. There's only a certain amount of members covered by stop loss. So the top 2 or top 3, whatever policy you create with the stop loss insurance company, you could create that policy and build it off of what you want to spend. So I believe right now we have 3 or 2 stop loss. They can be applied to the highest utilizing members, and they'll be stopped at 250, and then the other ones will be responsible for it. So we have stop loss on the first two highest cost claimants within the city of Utica, and then the other ones that surpass it will be on the bill of the same self-insurance policy.
Is that negotiated? How does that work? How do you arrive at that
You can
too?
negotiate it with the stop loss insurance company. So they just actually told us this in our last healthcare committee. They're looking at a 50% increase in our stop loss insurance. So then you start negotiating with them on what are you going to set the stop loss gap at, whether it's 250 or maybe you up it to 500. How many people you're going to carry under stop loss? How many do you need to have for stop loss on the utilization of the year prior and expectations of the future? So yes, it gets negotiated, but it gets negotiated with the stop loss insurance company that comes in and covers those high claimant employees.
It's no different than your homeowners
Is that
and
total city, or is it just police and then fire or separate?
That's total city, and this is another
Right.
reason why I can't understand why the city of Utica broke up the fire policy and the police policy and everything else. Because you're gonna have inaccuracies across the board. When you're applying that stop loss insurance and you don't know what group that high claimant falls under until they actually fall under it. And then you're going to either have increases in one group of employees versus the one where the stop loss gap stopped that high claimant employee from the other group. It's hard to break up inside of departments, and it's hard to break up inside of plans, which the city's attempting to do right now against the advice of the healthcare committee. But it's a citywide policy, and your stop loss insurance applies to all of the employees. So you don't know where those stop gap policies are going to actually apply or which group, when trying to predict which group is going to have a higher cost the following year, which one isn't.
the stop loss is for a certain time, and once that contract ends, then they have to go out and try to get another stop loss. So if you're using that stop loss, almost like your homeowner's insurance, if you use it, they're gonna jack the price up, or they're gonna drop you. So that's exactly what's happening. We've been using that for high claims, and now we're gonna be, the contract's out, and they're gonna have to search for another one, which is gonna cost a significant amount more.
Thank you.
And I can tell you personally, for being on the healthcare committee, I'm sorry.
No.
For an extended period of time, I've been on it almost 10 years, that stop loss coverage claimant has come from CSEA in certain years, fire in certain years, police in certain years, and it's not consistent with when you're looking at individuals in the budget. Now, how do you know which employee is going to hit that 250 marker first? And then that group is going to have a stop, where the other group might have a claimant that goes over 250 later and ends up taking the full hit for the insurance.
Thank you.
You guys can understand that, right?
Next year, I'd like to have you guys at the committee meeting where we do we didn't even have a separate section for the healthcare part.
Like you guys are out there committee meetings.
So,
Yes.
can I ask,
You guys should have
can I ask the chief of staff a question?
It's called committee of the whole.
That would be helpful.
Chief of staff,
Yeah, you don't
It's
do
called committee of
anything.
the whole.
can I ask a question?
Your guess.
Is there any plans for us to shop insurance again?
Always.
There is. So just because we're self-insured this year, we can shop other plans and not be self-insured if
I
it's
mean,
better?
we're always looking for the ways that
So,
we
okay.
No.
We're self-insured now.
That would
We're
have
no
to be
longer
negotiated
shopping.
Right.
with every
I mean, it
contract.
wouldn't- Right, I'm not saying it
Yeah.
wouldn't be,
Well, hang on.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be, with the users, obviously, but we're always looking for ways to make our insurance bill.
And yeah.
So at the time when we went self-insured, the unions all agreed on being self-insured too? And I don't know anything, that's why I'm asking the question.
Yes, that was part of the contract.
Huh?
No, not at the time. The fire department refused to go self-insured, and then later agreed to it in contracts to save $2 to $3 million for the city last year. Last year that actually happened. So we went to arbitration because they enforced it without our agreement. But going away from that, you're asking if we could shop out insurance carriers. We are our own insurance carrier.
No, I'm not
We're our
asking
own
just the
broker.
fire, I'm asking the city, can they do it on
The
their
city
own?
can shop administrators, but it's only people that are administering the plan. The money is ours. We don't get the money from a broker anymore. The money is the city of Utica's. So you're not shopping a broker to utilize their money. You're shopping an administrator that just administrates your plan with our money. Does that make sense?
It does, but can you get away from doing that and go back the other way? if you wanted to.
Go back to a broker plan.
No, can you go back to like a regular
Blue Cross.
Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Copay?
Can you get out of being self-insured? is
You
what I mean.
mentioned it in company, but they can serve two different purposes. They could be your overall insurance broker, or they could be your insurance administrator.
They're our administrator now.
They are only our administrator because we are self-insured and utilizing our own money. If we were in a commercial plan, they would be our commercial provided insurance carrier.
Okay, but so my question is, if we decided year down the road, we don't want to be self-insured anymore, we want to go back to being work with a regular insurance
It
company.
has to be all unions agreement.
It's got to be
Yes.
negotiated. Okay, let's
And-
go
and-
on.
And we
I
saved,
have one
the
more-
city saved $2 or $3 million
Yeah.
by going.
Okay.
so-
I have
Well,
one- I have-
This is good information, but we do have to move on.
I have one question for,
Thank you for that.
Councilman Vitar, and I have one last question. Well, for me, it might be an Elmere question, I believe. Obviously, so our employees are paying premiums. I'm pretty sure they went up. When we receive that money, what line does that go to?
That's a controller question.
Okay.
They post that. I believe that might go to the self-insurance fund initially, but then
I know it's not revenue, but it does come in, and so that's what I want to track of how much we're getting for those now.
But then at year end, the auditors come and do the journal entries.
I'm going to come hang out at the controller's office tomorrow.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to get the controller to start coming to the
That'd be good.
meetings here too. That would be nice.
They were here Monday.
Yeah, we're
And
not here
Councilman
now.
Vitar?
Sorry,
And
you
this
were
is the
busy.
meeting that was,
Yeah,
this is the actual meeting.
Just one question
Yeah, a lot of
because,
your department heads.
one question.
All right,
because-
let's go to number
Sorry,
30.
Jack, I have one
Jack.
question.
All right, one more. Go
So
ahead.
I just asked because stop-loss premiums were mentioned. Is there a line in the budget that reflects the cost of the stop-loss premium? Is there a separate line for that? Is there something we could find out that, is it within this budget or? It's just what?
It's projected in the entire cost.
So it's in the package?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a way we'd be able to see what that number is if we're hearing it's going to
Talk to our
increase?
brokers to see if they can
Okay. All right, I
provide
appreciate
more
it.
information
Thanks.
on that.
So, are we want to move on? So number 30 with the special services, we already went over that during the actual council meeting, but I am going to go to the controller's office tomorrow because my issue is when I see 17 entries posted for this line, I want to learn more about that school contract. And so I will bring in more information on Friday with this line.
I mean, do you have questions? I administer that, so I mean, I do have a lot of, do you have?
I think it's more of a controller question I have because I'm only seeing at least like 2 checks of what's actually entered, and there's months upon months that it is missing, and I'm hearing just those ones more.
Katie, I'm gonna pull that one.
And the other,
I don't think it's going anywhere.
No, Jack, I really want to hear more from.
I agree, guys. We've exhausted this at nauseam.
Well, we're done
All right.
talking
Okay,
about it,
let
but
her go.
we
Let her
can't
put it
discharge
in.
anything in a committee meeting.
I'll put it on hold then.
It's coming out for the next one.
Okay.
So then
Put it
number
out there and
31.
We can disagree after you do the research.
That's fine with me.
Okay, great.
All right, Joe.
Thank you. 31, I know I don't
I'm
have
serious. I'm
All right,
being
number
serious.
31.
31 is sales tax. I know I don't have a ton of support when we talk about this, but I did want to just address, you know, last year we were told cannabis is attached with the sales tax, and that's why the mayor didn't want to change that number. That's okay. It was projected at $19,750,000. This year, cannabis is coming in, year to date, we're first 3 quarters, 168,000, on track to do about 225,000. And it's looking like our sales tax is going to come in right on 1975, which is pretty cool. But when combined, it's going to hit about 20 million. So right now, when we're looking at what's on for projections, it's flat. They're expecting 0% growth, and I just don't believe that with the state of the city. So I'm asking for a whole 1%. The county is doing 4% projection, and right now we're 5.3% over where we were last year, which is what the county was predicting. So I'm not going to go for the full 4%, but that's why I put in this 1% request. And totally understand if people voted down, but I still stand by it.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Next one is 32.
You ready, Nick? Chips.
Yeah.
So,
Do you have this?
yeah, yes, I do. So with my I just want to give a little bit of a point here. Obviously, we used to get 2.5 million in chips. Now we get an extra about 1.1 million, and that brings us to 3.6 million. This year we put it right towards paving, and yes, I understand it can go to paving, but there are so many expenses this can go to. Anything that helps improve a street, and I agree with you, I understand what you mean about the transportation parking. That might not be feasible in here, but I think, I'm asking the administration, I know not every example I put in here might fulfill this, but when we have a $90 million budget and we have to hit MS4 requirements this year for stormwater, the more we can use this funding for here, the less the mayor has to change his budget. He gets all of the expenses he wants from this fulfilled, and we can still help taxpayers. And that's where I'd like to see this prioritized instead of spending an extra $1 million on paving. Keep it at our $5 million, but utilize CHIPS where we can in this budget.
Yeah, I think it's a creative idea, honestly. However, some of these I don't believe will play. Start line 1, engineering capital outlay. That's for cameras, drones, GPS units, GIS units. It was a big wish list. I already got shot down on half of it. But GIS units and GPS units, those are things that we use for our surveying. Those are a lot of point collection data. That's what that capital line is for. In this parameters of what we can buy under capital plan, which is on page 21 if you have.
Are you just talking about the first one?
Well, yeah, first one.
Well, I don't know if we should go through all 20 of these. My point is, these are examples.
I can skip to the sign shop. That one works.
On the sign shop now, it says on there, you can use it for finished roads, correct? Like brand new roads?
Well,
You can use it for signage too, literal signage.
More, but for $40,000 in the sign shop, that's stop signs, that's everything we use from A to Z. The film, the
That's great.
backing, the metal.
And I'm not trying to get rid of it. I'm
No.
saying CHIPS should pay for it. if
I'm
that's
just
the-
asking you, and then you have.
I would
the
like to-
street- The street maintenance repair. Now, last I knew, the street maintenance repair that you were trying to cut, that was my, what was it again?
Yeah, we have a lot of lines on here that people are trying to cut, and like, if
Right.
CHIPS can
No,
pay
I
for it,
understand
then.
it, but I just wanna,
I
what
don't know
one
what
is that one, the repair one?
Did somebody do repairs?
The 30,000.
I forget who proposed that. Anybody remember?
We did.
Yeah, is it the salt again?
No, what's that one?
Mark, it's A551104661 is the line.
I don't even know, I don't think anybody put an amendment to that one.
At least that's what's on here.
I don't think there's an amendment.
No, not for that one.
Right, that's what I was asking.
Okay, sorry, yeah, there's no
Listen, we
amendment for
can
that.
review what is eligible under CHIPS, and then you guys can modify this amendment.
And I probably missed stuff that was, and.
But as far as the street
And-
signage though, I think it's different for everyday
I'm
maintenance.
just saying,
and
we're not
repair
gonna
that we do
accomplish
that
going
the
through
third
it.
day
I mean.
That's all I have to say.
Okay.
There are, you can get clarifications even deeper than what this says, but just, I guess to save time, is being rushed through, but we're here, let's talk about this, is where I'm kind of at. The only one that I really see that could be eligible is the sign shop for the signs. And that's a reimbursable thing, so we buy it, we have to buy, this is all reimbursed by the way. None of this is given to us. It's all reimbursable.
But my question
CHIPS.
is for 40,000, if we go over to 40,000, where do we get the money?
I say you could
you
load that
already
line with
went-
CHIPS.
We take the burden of what we go over. We can only get refunded back up to 40, or up to, no, good question, Mark.
Well, even, like.
CHIPS, so, STR.
Yeah, you gotta ask him to
I
transfer.
mean, we have, it's broken out in many ways. CHIPS money, 1.8 million. Paved New York, 450,000. EWR, 300,000. STR, which is, street, I don't know, travel route. Street travel, or state touring route, that's what it is. A lot of acronyms, I'm sorry. 758. POP, pave over your potholes, 301. All of this is reimbursable money. They all have their own parameters, but at the end of the day, they all have to, in some way, work inside the consolidated local and highway paving.
It has
thing.
to improve the actual road.
Yeah,
In some way,
some
yes,
of the
that's why
storm
some
sewer
sidewalks
stuff
are.
that's in here, that's only if you reconstruct the road. So if you were to say Shaw Street, that would fall under reconstruction for that.
I think that would be great, because we were talking about that, it connects with the CDBG point too, so we can get into that in the next one.
But I do want to make the point that the street lighting, that's out.
Okay.
Those are traffic lights, what they are reimbursable for. Street lighting, traffic lights, I was confused too
Where do
for
we
a
put,
while.
where do we put street, traffic lights in our budget?
We didn't, because I
Okay.
don't have anything else to do.
Okay.
So, well, I do, but that's getting done under the
Separate.
SMART grant.
For like, when we were talking about the sidewalks, I know we have 100,000, that's kind of, if, I would love to see, I know
we
we're
use
gonna,
that
I want it
already.
to be, if we have chips, I'd like to see it go towards, you could increase that line, do 100% reimbursement for people.
We do.
In,
I mean, that's why we spend.
We do 100%
3.6.
reimbursement?
We spend we spend 3.6 million.
the sidewalk program.
Talking about the
Instead of the
reimbursement
match.
program.
Oh,
Just
you
examples.
can't use it for that, it's ADA compliancy.
That's what chips
Isn't that
is.
the same thing
That's what
with
CHIPS
the-
is.
Yes.
But we're not, the reimbursement, we're not reimbursing people for ADA work, we're
We
reimbursing
need
them for
to-
their
What
40
about the
foot
MS4
worth
thing
of
with the signage too?
frontage.
Yeah, signage.
It's not
could go.
ADA work, that's, ADA work is like the ramps at the corners when you roll down, it's the metal tactiles, it's all the warm.
I feel like we're
Residential
agreeing,
sidewalk.
and
A
I'm
residential
confused,
sidewalk
because it
is
sounds like you
not
guys disagree.
ADA. No, I'm not trying to be difficult,
No,
but
no,
these
you're
are the
not
facts
difficult.
of just the word, the technical facts of it.
But ADA is part, like chips can be
ADA
covered with chips.
is part of CHIPS, and we spend every time we pave a road, we go corner to corner, we do all 4 corners after with the ADA compliance. When you're talking about the reimbursement portion of it, that's like, I got 40 feet of frontage. I'm fixing just that 40 feet of frontage.
But when you talk about the underwires, your infrastructure project for 362,000, how would that not be covered by chips?
That's not
That seems-
affecting my roads. That's
But
not-
if
that's
sidewalks
not
are still a
lighting.
part of it,
It's
I'm not asking
lighting.
for lighting, but
But it is.
you have to redo the roads. You have to break up
I
the
have to
entire
dig
sidewalk.
I have to dig our right of way.
Yeah.
Between the curb and your sidewalk.
Can I break in a second here? Is this feasible, or are we just playing
No, I
around?
think we're playing around.
I think I would like a,
be
like a
honest,
real
I don't
concrete
mean to
list.
be insulting,
No.
Katie, I mean,
No, it is feasible.
something
What
we
it
could-
requires is the administration to want to do it with that, and it might not be the full million, but I'd like to see some
but
plan.
Katie-
But
for
it's
that.
not money that we
We've
get.
had the budget since February 5th. All these things should have been discussed with department
And-
heads before this. Did she discuss any
Hold
of
on.
these with you?
Uh,
I mean, no, I'm
no,
serious.
I don't think so.
It's
Maybe.
5 days
I'd
before
go
the
through
budget's
with
due.
you.
But anyways,
They should have
the
been,
facts
they should
are,
have been talked with
the
department
facts are
heads.
that this $3.6 million that I'm gonna use for paving, as I gave everybody the list last Monday or whatever day it was,
So,
I'm going 3 million, which is this money, all
You
of
mean
this
5
money.
million?
I'm going 3 million in my mill and fill, ADA compliancy, everything CHIPS will cover. I'm spending all 3.6 million because I'm mill and filling 3 million. I'm paying 500,000 in personnel.
So we're gonna bond
which is covered
1.4?
under this.
Are you
And
allocating for it to be
then,
turned?
instead of bonding 2.5, which is what you have on the table right now, we bond 1.4. Now we got our 5 million. Or we bring it back to 4 million or 3 million this year because we're tight. Either way, my paving plan is built on all CHIPS money, $3 million worth of roads, and $1 million currently. I'll take 1.4 if you want to give it to me, in repairs. And now we're bonding less, we're borrowing less, and this is free money. Paving costs us nothing. And this, I got all of our 5s, all of the streets from our assessment, 5.1 million. That's what I need to do all the 5s. All the worst roads in the whole city. But I'm not. I'm gonna take what I got for free, reimbursable.
Katie, not to be rude, but
I'm not
do
trying-
do this offline. all right?
We'll finish that. Joe, did you have anything else to add, or are you good?
Good for now. Good information on the paving and the 3.6 million in chips, though. Thank you. Yeah.
And
All
thank
right,
you, Nick,
so
very much.
The next one, we're gonna go 33.
No,
Just being honest.
I don't think that's difficult. I think it's part of the conversation.
We're good, 33.
33 and 34 are combined, so this is the last one. The CDBG funds. I've talked with Brian Thomas a little bit on this. At first, I was wondering where we could put it within the budget, and it seemed tricky at first, but then when we're looking at the possibility of the youth department, that whole department, 713,000. CDBG right now for the street is 650, but if this is a possibility, have the street construction be covered by the CHIPS then. CDBG, our youth department, we had Utica Safe Schools going based off those demographics, and if we could do whatever we did to approve for that, to utilize this, I would like that for taxpayers. And if you wanted to weigh in on that.
Can I?
Yeah, please, yeah.
I do use the CDBG money for paving too, so.
And we're asking to
I'm
not,
willing to play
because
ball with some.
5 million would exceed that, sorry.
This is considered a public service, and under CDBG and HUD's rules,
we're capped at 15% of our entitlement can be spent on public services. With an entitlement of 2.4 million, 15% of that amounts to 372,000.
Okay,
So at most, you could do 372,000
I like that.
towards public service.
with that
However,
pot.
that assumes that you don't spend a dollar on anybody else, including the Abraham House for people that are terminally ill.
Where does that come?
Any of your senior centers, Young Scholars Program, youth activities, which is the #1 thing we've heard at our public meetings, is the youth need more activities, not less. I understand the Youth Bureau is doing a youth activity, but that would essentially be the only one in operation.
And then, so that's 15%. What do you do with the other? That's the only thing that it goes to for everything. It's only 15% of our operations.
Public services are capped at no more than 15% of
What
your
are the other
entitlement.
categories?
What do you mean, what are the
When you
other
say public
categories?
services are capped at 15%, so just paving then?
Well, assistance to persons of low to moderate income or elimination of slum and blight, two of the HUD's 3 national objectives. The rest of the money gets spent there.
And that's where I thought with the youth program, it would be assistance to low to moderate income, because based on the numbers of the kids we're seeing, but that would be
It's
public
still a
service.
public service.
That covers it first.
Even under Utica Safe Schools, it was a public
That's
service.
what it counts for. No, that's, my thing is with, I just don't see it being, like you said, Nick, bond less for 1.4 million, at 1.4 million, maybe that's the option, but, that's all I have for tonight.
But can I don't understand what 34 is trying to do.
That was if we weren't gonna do the street construction. If we were gonna use chips towards this instead. I wasn't gonna, yeah, that was just to cancel out the transfer.
I just have I have a quick question for Brian here, just because you made an interesting point. I'm just wondering. So assistance to low to moderate income versus public service. What's an example of something that would qualify for assistance to low to moderate income but wouldn't be public service?
Well, there's 4 types of assistance you could provide to persons of low to moderate income. One is jobs. We use a portion of our CDBG to do a low interest loan program to businesses that would presumably increase jobs, and those jobs would be offered to persons of low to moderate income. It could be done for housing. You can't construct new housing with CDBG, but you can rehabilitate existing housing with CDBG. You can put it into their neighborhoods, which is how we do streets. There's a 4th that I'm forgetting.
We could follow up and afterward. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll learn more for Friday.
Yeah, Joe, you have the floor. I just want to say one thing. We're done now, right? So I want to tell all you guys, I dreaded coming here tonight, and I'm very proud of everybody around this table, from department heads to council people. We worked hard. We got another meeting. The only thing I can say, I wish we did this a little bit sooner so we didn't have to spend 2 hours now, but that's beside the point. But we treated each other like human beings, and we're all trying to work to the same thing. So I want to thank all you guys.
I agree. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Oh, wait, lunchtime Friday.
At 5:45 on Friday, right? Yeah.